Okay, welcome everybody. This is Premier Chess Adult Intermediate Fall 2020. This is week 14, the final week, and we will be covering a game. It's a game between Viktor Korchnoi versus Anatoly Karpov, FIDE Championship match, Game 17, 1978. I hope none of you have studied this game in detail. All right, we'll see. So let's go through this game. This was a very interesting game, and we'll see what we can extract from it. So C4 Korchnoi is white, by the way. So C4 was not a common opening that Korchnoi did. He often liked to transpose into like Queen's Gambit type openings from English, but we'll see what happens here. So knight f6, knight c3, e6, d4. So we have transposed into a kind of, if black would play d5, we would get a Queen's Gambit declined type of position. Another possibility is to do e4, and then after which this could be another possible plausible variation. E4, d5, e5, d4, and could yield some interesting play here. So, all right, so let's go back. So d4, bishop b4. Anybody know the name of this opening?
Nimzo Indian.
Nimzo Indian, yeah, or just Nimzovich defense, you can also say. So, what's the idea behind bishop b4? Why does he choose to pin the knight?
So that if he tries to play pawn to e4, he can't defend that pawn with the knight anymore.
Right. So Nimzovich's radical ideas for his time were that at that time, most of the top level chess players believed that the only way to control the center was by occupying the center with your pawns, right? That's the only way, and they thought the best way, right? So Nimzovich comes around and says, no, there are other ways that you can occupy the center by, for example, restraining or pinning or trading the pieces that control the center, right? So the knight on c3 is controlling e4 until it's pinned, right? So now it's no longer controlling, and so that was his contribution to chess philosophy. And he was actually criticized by a lot of his contemporaries for doing that because top level players at that time highly considered they thought the bishops were highly valuable, so they criticized Nimzovich for readily trading them away. All right, so yeah, bishop b4, e3. Okay, and anybody know what this variation is called? This is known as the Rubinstein variation, or Rubinstein complex, named after Akiba Rubinstein of the early 20th century. And the goal of this kind of variation is to make the setup of bishop d3, knight g to e2, castle, and then maybe perhaps start a little pawn storm that way. And also the knight on e2 would replace if he chooses to capture on c3. So that's the whole idea with e3. Okay, so so black castles. Other ideas that black could have done here to more directly strike at the center. Probably b6, preparing bishop b7, and trying to control the center with the fianchetto bishop, or also c5 is another good one, or also d4, d5 as well. All right, so different ideas. Okay, so castle, bishop d3. So white is attempting to regain control of the e4 square. Okay, and black understandably fights back in the center with c5, right? So he doesn't want to make e4 so easy of a push. Okay, so e4 doesn't really work. The pawn is lost, so he's trying to undermine the white center. What do you think in this position? What do you think would be a good move for white? What do you guys think?
Maybe just develop the other knight.
Yeah, you could knight GD2, just continue development quietly. That's an idea. Then you would allow black to challenge your center completely, and now it's basically equal. White no longer really has an advantage here. So what's another idea?
Or what about A3?
A3. Okay, so let's say he could capture here. Again, he could push D5. So black's goal is definitely to push D5, right? That's the goal. He doesn't want to allow white this massive center. So if he could get in D5, that's very satisfying and very it's a good achievement if you can get in D5. So
So in
what
this
else do you
position,
think? What was that?
now I was going to say after A3, bishop takes, B takes,
Yep.
D5. We could just take on D5 and then push C4 later.
Push C4. Push C4 here.
Well, maybe not right
Remember,
away.
remember, your king is in the center.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was thinking. So maybe
Yeah.
not right away, but
Yeah.
it's definitely an option. Seems to be an option.
Yeah, black's king is very safe and tucked away, so he would love it if the position were to be opened up, right? Also, by taking on D5, you're actually freeing up this bishop, so you're doing black a favor, right?
Mm.
So okay, so that's one possibility. Anybody else? What else?
So white can just play D5.
Yeah, so D5 is an interesting move. That is what Korchnoi played. It was given as a dubious move, but he really did not want to allow black to equalize and stake his control over the center. So yeah, D5. They described D5 as a bold and reckless move. Although Korchnoi was motivated by psychological reasons, because through rigorous study of Karpov's games and style of play, Korchnoi has deduced that Karpov despises cramped defensive positions. Therefore, since black must play carefully and avoid such positions in this way. So yeah, he's really attempting to given his study of Karpov's games to put him in a defensive position. Okay, so what do you think is a good move for black in this position?
These. I was gonna say D6. He doesn't want to allow white D6.
Okay, so D6. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe you're trying to go for E5 and free the bishop, something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a possibility. Anybody else? What else?
Queen A5.
Queen A5. So yeah, okay. So putting extra pressure on the knight. Okay, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, we can respond with knight G to E2. Yeah, I mean white's pretty comfortable, I think. All right. What else?
Could also just take on D5 first with the pawn and then with the knight. That would also increase the pressure on C3.
Okay, and now, so the idea behind this, of course, is taking on H7, check, regaining his piece. But now, white has a pretty nice position, right? Very nice position. Queen is very centralized and active, and white just has to develop this knight, castle, and this pawn may become a target, right? So maybe, yeah. Maybe not. Maybe not. And maybe he'll push on E4 and solidify his control over D5. Right. All right. So what else?
What about just taking the knight to double the pawns?
Yep, you can do that too. It is a possibility. You do lose your bishop, so let's see what's a good move for black here. Maybe d6, something like that. Yeah, maybe you could do that. It's possible. So yeah, those are all good moves, pretty good moves. So Karpov did a very interesting move, also given a dubious distinction. He went with b5, which resembles the Benko Gambit. Everybody familiar with the Benko Gambit?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Benko Gambit, d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, and b5. Right. You're trying to lure away this the c pawn from protecting the centralized deep and advanced d5 pawn, and also you want to activate your c8 bishop in the meantime. Activate your c8 bishop on a6, right, and try to gain control, or maybe trade away this bishop, right? Because this bishop in these lines, the c8 bishop is pretty it's difficult to get him in the game, right? Like you see, this guy is not happy. So if you can trade away the c8 bishop for the d3 bishop, black would be a happy man, right? So b5 is a little is his like strike at white's center. He wants to try to undermine this little pawn chain here. Okay, so now what do you think is the best move for white?
E6.
All right, so e6. All right, so you want to really establish control there. Let's see here. Maybe queen b6 followed by here. So you're basically giving him this diagonal. I would say this pawn seems to be more of a weakness. It seems to me to be overextended. What do you think?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's tough to defend there.
Yeah, pretty difficult to defend this pawn, you know. Maybe he just comes back here with the knight and picks up the pawn pretty easily, right? And you know, bishop b7, something like that. So yeah, that might be premature to push it that far. So what else?
What about E4?
E4. So let's see here. E4. Okay. Looks good. Pretty good. I'd say something like maybe. How would you take back if he takes here? How would you take back?
Probably take with the C pawn.
The c pawn. Okay, if you took with the c pawn, I would say then now this bishop gets pushed back, and now
Just drop it back to C2.
black has a pretty nice little pawn chain going on here, right? So yeah, that's pretty.
That's true, but I have two central pawns. I don't know. I feel like I might be able to get more counterplay.
Okay.
But the thing is, white still has some work to do. I need to castle.
Right. White still got a king in the center, so you got to be careful with that. Definitely. Okay. So all right. So let's see. So E4. Anybody else?
I feel like this can't be the right answer, but I kind of want to just take the B pawn. I want to just take.
Take this pawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we take. So it's just going to be a trade, basically. You take the pawn, and black takes the pawn, and now white has essentially forfeited the center, right? Because once this knight is removed, d5 comes, and now black pretty much controls the center completely, right? So you gave black the center by taking the pawn, which is not even a win of a pawn. You know, you just trade. So what else?
B3.
B3. Now you lose your knight.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No. What do you guys think?
What about queen to f3?
Queen to f3. Let's see here. Okay. Hmm.
Doesn't
Maybe something like this, and then maybe do something like that. And I would do that. Now you're opening up your
We'd
bishop.
actually go back 2 moves rather than retreating the bishop, push the pawn.
Yeah,
then
I saw
take the
that. I saw that as well. You could do that, but you just
Yeah.
moving the knight would be pretty fine. And again, this pawn's going to be overextended. All right. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good move yet. So okay. So Korchnoi was famously greedy with material. So he sees this free pawn, so he's like, I want to take it. So the first thing he does is capture on e6, right? He takes e6, and how would you guys recapture? What do you think? Or would you recapture? Because there's a variation where they gave where where he doesn't recapture.
Probably take the C pawn, I guess.
Oh, you want to take here? Okay,
Yeah.
so take here. He takes here with check, let's say, and now,
Stick with the rook.
no, you can't. Oh, actually, yeah, you can. That's true. That's true. The knight's pinned. You keep
It's
forgetting.
D5.
Yeah, yeah. And now this is a beautiful center. Even though black is down a pawn, it's kind of debatable. Does black have a sound compensation for the pawn? It's hard to say. The white king is stuck in the center. This bishop is now pretty active and open. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, especially in that position, it's easy to just play queen f8, knight e4,
Oh,
and
sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Let me go back. Where were we? Oh, right here. Okay. Yeah. So go ahead. What did you say?
I was saying after b takes c, and then e takes f7 check,
Yeah.
rook takes, bishop takes d5,
Yeah.
and at this point, I mean, black, the seems like very simple moves: queen f8, knight e4, and that f2 is
Queen f8. I'd say bishop
bishop
here.
b7. So yeah, like pretty much all their pieces start pointing towards the king side.
Yeah, now this is getting dangerous for white because now since this diagonal is controlled by the bishop, now d4 becomes a real possibility, attacking the pinned knight, right? so yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. All right, it's interesting. Okay, so let's go back. So d takes e6. So he went f takes e6. Karpov captured towards the center, strengthening his center. Very logical. Opening up his f8 rook. Now the f8 rook has a nice half open file to work with. So okay, so now we have so now finally Korchnoi gets his pawn. So now Korchnoi is up a pawn. He's really happy. They say Korchnoi is happiest when he's up in material. All right. So now, what do you think best move is here for black? What do you think?
d5.
Yes, d5 is logical. That does make sense. Nothing wrong with it. It's not what Karpov did immediately, but yeah, definitely is expands space and takes control of the center that that was given to him by this sacrifice pawn. So what else?
There's ideas of knight d5 and queen f6.
So knight d5. Oh, okay, attacking the knight. All right.
So after this, queen f6 attacks c3 and f2.
That's true. That's good. That's good. Yeah, so maybe he'll just win his pawn back. I mean, okay. I guess something like that, maybe. Yeah, now. All right. Something like that. Okay. Okay. And what else?
Bishop B7.
Bishop B7. Good move. You're actually so in this kind of position, white wants to play knight G to E2 and reinforces C3 knight. So bishop B7 is kind of annoying for white in the sense that now he's forced to kind of play knight F3 instead, right? So that is interesting move. So what Karpov played was he continued in the Benko Gambit style of this B5 pawn sacrifice. He continued in that style with A6, right? So he's luring this pawn even more, trying to activate his C8 bishop that way. Okay. So all right. So knight E2, and now Karpov goes D5, taking control of his center. Okay, castle. Okay, black to move. What do you think is a good move here for black?
Bishop B7.
Bishop B7. Okay. All right, it's possible. Maybe you want to open up this diagonal, activate the bishop. Okay.
Oh wait, actually I saw C4. That seems even better.
C4. C4 looks good.
Oh, you like C4? Yeah, that's pretty nice too. Although it does give black D4, but okay. And you would have to prepare a lot to get this D4 pawn push because the D5 pawn begins to get weak. But okay, interesting. All right, what else? What else? Good move for black here.
About knight at one. Pardon me. Knight at 8 to D7, aiming for the
Knight 87.
aiming
Okay.
for
So
the E5 square.
to go to B6, you mean?
E5.
To go
E5.
to go to E5, right? Okay. All right, it's interesting. It's kind of slow, but it's interesting. Okay. Yeah, in this kind of position, the B8 knight typically has a difficult time getting activated, right? So especially with this pawn being here, so black really wants to do something about that. So I mean, you could take the pawn, but then you'll activate, the B7, the D3 bishop, right? So that's kind of the trade-off with that. So what else?
How about just pushing the e-pawn? Start marching the three of them down.
Yeah, so in this position, black Karpov really liked the idea of establishing his pawn center, right? So this is a very nice situation with the pawns. Very intimidating looking pawn, kind of like a pawn storm. So he wants to try to establish or launch a kingside attack. So with E5, he opens up his C8 bishop, and the bishop can come down. Maybe queen goes to D6, eventually go to E5, combine that with knight G4, and try to come down on the white king that way, right? And also another interesting idea about E5 is that it clears the sixth rank. So you can imagine in some variations, the A8 rook can activate itself by rook A6, and then come all the way over, swing all the way to the king side. Nice rook lift. Right, so clearing this the sixth rank is a good idea for those reasons, right? So, all right. So a3. Okay. So here, black would like to save this bishop, and if given the time, you would have liked to go c4 and drop the bishop back to d6, right? So a3 kind of puts the question to the bishop and doesn't give him time to do that. So what do you think is a good move here that for black? What do you think?
You could drop it to a5 with the idea of going to c7 in the next move and kind of.
Yeah, you could do that. A5 with the idea of going to c7. Possibility. Okay. What else?
I thought of queen a5, but I feel like that misplaces the queen.
Yeah. It seems like if he wants to launch a kingside attack, yeah, the queen is all the way over
Yeah.
here. It's going to be kind of far away from the action, right? Because this rook wants to start something on the king side, right? So, yeah. All right. What else?
C4.
Oh, so you want to trade? Okay. I don't know if does that work here. No, it doesn't work. He just takes the knight, right? No. Yeah. So maybe just drop it back, I guess. Okay. All right. It's a possibility. Possible. Okay. What else? Yeah. So if you play c4, then you give him the chance to drop back to d6, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you trade, these triple pawns look kind of nasty. All right. So anything else? Yes, I think with this next move, Karpov he achieves a few goals with one move, right? Which is something that I always say top level players often do, right? Each move, if you can achieve a few goals with one move, that's really a valuable move. So our bishop is being attacked. Taking the knight doesn't really seem like all that good of an idea. You're just activating the e2 knight, and you just lost one of your bishops, valuable bishop pair. So he decided to take on b5, right, and establish the pin on the a file, right? So the bishop is immune so far. Okay. All right. So what do you think is the best move for white here?
Bishop d2.
You said bishop d2?
Yeah, bishop d2. Yeah.
Okay, so you can go bishop d2. That just allows. I think. Let's see. You can take, and now this pawn chain is really formidable. Now it's let's see, maybe something like that. Yeah, this pawn chain is really difficult to deal with now. So yeah, and also by doing bishop d2, you're giving back the pawn, right? So now there's equality. So Korchnoi didn't want to give back his pawn. So instead of that, he chose to recapture the pawn, right, with the bishop. Bishop takes b5. And in here, Karpov does a very strange move that actually they give it a question mark, a mistake, which is he trades his bishop willingly, even though here the bishop is still immune to capture due to the pin. So kind of it kind of contradicts the reasoning behind a takes b5, right? Because he wanted to establish the pin, but here he trades the bishop willingly. So they don't view that as a good move. Alternatively, they were thinking about bishop b7, perhaps rook b1, bishop takes now. Now the bishop is under attack. And b takes c3. So b takes c3. Why do you think, even though that provides these two, that creates these two isolated pawns, but here it does two things. Anybody see what two things it does?
The B file.
Yeah, so you're opening up the b file for the rook, and at the same time as these pawns, especially the c pawn and the e pawn here, are doing a great job of restraining this pawn mass, right? So if you were to recapture with the knight, which is what most people would want to do, that just begs d5, d4, sorry, and now this pawn mass is very beautiful and very mobile. So yeah, b takes c3 would be better. So another possibility, instead of taking the knight, would be bishop a5, and then b4 is nice again to gain space and hopefully trade away one of these central the pawns from the central pawn mass, right? Okay, so instead of that, he trades willingly without being threatened. He trades willingly one of his valuable bishops, and now what do you think? Best move for white?
B takes C3.
Yes, exactly. So again, we want to try to restrain this very strong pawn center. So b takes c3 is a very nice move to control d4, right? And there's a saying: the best way to deal with a pawn storm is to get one's pieces out of the way, right? Because once a pawn storm starts happening, kind of, I think there's a term for it. It's called the steamroller, right? It just pushes pieces out of the way. So yeah, you gotta put your pawns in its path somehow. Okay, so b takes c3, bishop a6. All right, now what do you think? Best move for white here. So this bishop on b5 is very active, and black would love to trade it away. So what do you think? Any ideas? What do you think?
D to or queen to a4.
Queen to a4. Okay. All right. Take. Let's say take.
I was going to take the rook.
Oh, right. Good. Sorry, missed that. All right. Good. So, okay. Maybe the queen comes here then. All right. Yeah. All right. It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of risky, putting your queen in line with the rook. It's kind of risky, I'd say. But okay, it's interesting. And also you're vacating the d1 square for the rook, so you can bear down on the d file, the d5 pawn.
I was also thinking the a rook would come across the b file and then kind of help to solidify the.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's true too. Okay. So what else? Yeah. Any ideas? So remember, you always look at your position and think which of my pieces are not doing anything, which are inactive, right? So the rook on f1 inactive, knight is fairly active, bishop's not really doing much, and the rook's not doing much. And I think it would be kind of premature to activate the queen so soon when there's so many pieces still on the board. So I wouldn't do that just yet. So here, which piece do you think we could activate fairly quickly?
Rook b1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rook
rook
b1,
b1.
definitely. Yeah, rook b1, protect the bishop. And if bishop takes, now our rook is nice and active and has a beautiful b file to work with, right? So yeah, rook b1 is very, very beautiful move. Okay, so now what do you think is the best move for black here?
What about knight to d7?
Which one?
The knight on b8.
B8. Okay, so knight b d7. Okay, so that's no good. Why? Anybody see why?
Queen d5. Oh wait, no, never mind.
No.
The knight's guarding it.
Why is that no good?
Bishop c6.
Yeah, bishop c6 is a nice move to kind of do a little fork here with the a8 rook and the d5 pawn. And in order to not lose this pawn, black is forced to give up his last bishop here. And yeah, and this is a pretty nice position for white. And the rook will come over here and contribute to the attack. And yeah, the pawns seem kind of they're not that mobile, kind of neutralized for now. So yeah. So bishop c6. Karpov did not want to allow bishop c6. So what do you think he did? He you're correct in that the b8 knight wants to get developed, but the problem is bishop c6. So what do we do about that?
c7.
Queen c7, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so queen c7. Let's see here. Okay, it's a possibility. Yeah, okay, that's good. So he actually played queen d6. Protects all the pawns and also protects the bishop. It's a nice, almost central location for the queen. Okay. And now, what do you think white's best move is here?
A4.
a4.
Yeah, a4 is a nice move. Let's see, a4. Here's a possible variation. Knight bd7. Now, what do you think is a good move here?
Bishop
Bishop
a3.
A3.
Yeah, you want to activate this bishop, definitely. So now this is a beautiful diagonal for the bishop, right? Bishop, queen, and rook are on this diagonal. Pawn is pinned. So very nice diagonal for this bishop to be on. Rook f to b8. C4, trying to ruin this pawn structure. Bishop takes, rook takes, c takes. Knight b6, and now it's difficult to defend this a4 pawn, and yeah, so it's interesting game. It's let's see who's winning.
Could play
So
knight
white is still
C3
winning on a
here,
pawn.
right?
So yeah, go ahead.
Could play knight C3 here.
You could play knight c3. He can scare you
He
away
can't take. He
pretty
can't
quick.
take. That pawn is pinned.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So we could, in this time, I was hoping to get that other rook to the A file, but that's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what do you do? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if we move the queen off the diagonal, then this pawn this pawn will fall here, right? So yeah. All right. So let's go back. So queen d6. What do you think is a good move here?
I was looking at something like c4 followed by knight to c3, kind of going after the same, like that pin with the pawn of the c5 pawn. With the
This
d5
pawn.
pawn.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you some combination there, I haven't quite worked it out.
Yeah, so c4. Yeah, that's the move that Korchnoi played. Very nice move, solidifying the bishop, attacking the pawns, provoking them to move. So another possibility is let's see. Oh, I think we just had that. Yeah. All right. So c4. And then he pushes his pawn to d4. Okay. Now, what do you think? Wait to move. What do you think? Best move here.
Knight C3.
Knight c3. Okay. Fancy. Um. Okay. The point. Okay, you're right that the knight is pinned, but if the knight's not pinned, I mean, let's say he just gets rid of the pin this way. Now you got to move your knight again, right? So where's the best thing here? Because ideally, you want to push the pawn and bring the bishop onto a3, right?
Yeah.
So
I
knight.
was thinking of D5, but the problem is he could. I was thinking to put the knight on D5 after C3,
Oh, d5. Okay, so let's see. So
and
here,
somehow exploiting the diagonal along the king.
so you basically sacrifice a pawn, I guess, right?
Yeah, it would be a pawn sacrifice,
Okay.
but I don't see a direct way to exploit the diagonal right away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, the bishop. This
Yeah.
bishop is going to be traded here. Not really a way. And now this pawn, the c pawn becomes very dangerous. Now you just push it like this, and ooh, very dangerous. Combined with the d pawn. So yeah, gotta be careful with that. All right, so let's go back. Okay, what else? What other move here in this position?
What about f4?
Yeah, I was gonna say try F4.
F4. Yeah, F4 is a very interesting possibility, and they did give that as one possible variation. So okay, it's interesting. I mean, what can because you really want to undermine this central pawn wedge. You want to try to undermine it, and so yeah, F4 is one possibility. Okay, all right. So yeah, so all good ideas. So knight g3 is the move that Korchnoi played, aiming at control of e4 and f5, right? So okay, so let's see what Karpov did. Knight c6. Okay. So now this pawn becomes a little target on c4. So his goal is to bring the knight onto a5 and apply pressure to the immobile c pawn. All right. So a4, white continues. Knight a5. Okay. So now what do you think? What would you do for white here?
Queen D3.
Yeah, queen d3. Yeah, that was the move. Yeah, that was the move that he played. That was pretty nice move. All right. So now, and what about black? What do you think black's best move is here?
Put one of the rooks on the king file. Which one?
An e8.
Yeah, I don't know which. Oh yeah, that's a good reason not to.
Yeah. So remember the goal right now. He's trying to apply pressure to c4, right? So we have 1, 2. So now, how do we increase pressure on c4?
Queen e6.
Yeah, queen e6. Yeah, so definitely Karpov seeks to increase the pressure there. Very slowly but surely increasing pressure on the immobile c pawn. All right, so now Korchnoi decides to trade. E takes d4. How would you take back?
Probably with an E pawn.
Okay, you would take back with the e pawn.
Basically keeping the C4 pawn fixed.
Okay. Okay, with e4, let's see. Now he can kind of go after this pawn. This pawn's kind of weak, and now let's say he protects it with rook there. Now white has time to defend the pawn again, right? So yeah, so in light of that, he chose to capture back with the c pawn. Okay, and that clears the way for attacking the pawn with the rook on c8. Okay, so now really the only way to defend this pawn, I mean, he could go bishop a3 and defend it this way. That's true, but he chose to move c5. Okay, c5, rook fc8. Okay, now what do you think? White to move. What do you think? Best move here.
Bishop a3.
Bishop a3. Okay, let me just see here. Where are we? Okay, so bishop a3. Okay, that's a good move. Controlling, protecting the c pawn, evacuating the c1 square for the rooks. Okay, it's good. Anything else? What else?
Bishop to d2.
Bishop d2.
Hitting the knight.
Okay, good possibility as well. So in this position, Karpov or Korchnoi really wanted to undermine this little pawn chain in the center. So he went f4 right now. So now we can see that the center pawn, the once massive central pawn's mass has been completely undermined and is rapidly beginning to collapse, as we can see. So yeah, so other possibilities. Let's see. Other possibilities are rook e1. That's another possibility. Rook takes c5. Queen takes d4. E takes. Rook takes e6. Bishop takes. A takes. Knight b3. All right. So what do you think best move is here for white here? What do you think?
I'm not seeing why white doesn't take a knight.
Oh no!
Okay.
What? No, you can't take the
A1.
knight. You're gonna be mated here.
Oh, right.
Actually, no. Actually,
Oh,
no. It's
you
not
get the
mate.
knight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
There's
mate.
rook
But
A1 though.
let's see.
There's
Take.
rook A1.
Take, and now, oof, ouch, no good. All right. All right, what else?
What rook C6?
Yeah, rook c6.
Okay, rook c6. All right, that's possible. Good. Actually, the move that they had in mind was rook a6. Rook a to c8, and the game continues. Yeah. So okay, so let's go back. Let's see here. Yeah, so there's a lot of variations here that we can go over, but all right, let's just go back. Where were we? Rook FC8. Okay, Rook FC8, F4, and so now what do you think the best move is here for black? What do you guys think?
E4.
Okay, so E4, you lose this pawn. All right.
If only that D pawn was protected.
I know, right? That would be nice. What do you think?
Rook to E8.
Rook to E8? No.
Oh, right.
Actually, no, that doesn't work because the bishop's pinned. So, okay. All right. Let's see here. He could something like all right. Actually, no, that wouldn't work because now this bishop falls. Yeah. And if he takes here, now look at these beautiful connected pass pawns. So that's pretty much a win, secured win for white. For black, sorry. So yeah, so let's go back. So the move that that Karpov played was rook takes c5. So so he got back his extra pawn. So now there's equality. So now both players have 4 pawns. So let's see what happens here. Bishop takes a6. He removes the bishop here. How do we take back? What do you think?
I think I take with the queen.
Queen. Yes, that's what he took. That's what he took with. So let's look at the variation. If he takes with the rook, so we have rook b8 check. If rook c8, so yeah, rook c8 is one possibility. Rook takes, queen takes, f takes e5, and now black center is completely collapsed, and white should definitely win, right, with 2 pawns up. So yeah, so there's that. Also another possibility, king f7, bishop a3, and rook c3 is a big blunder. Why is rook c3 a big blunder?
Rook f8 is mate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rook f8 is mate. Very nice mate. Queen is controlling g6. All right, so queen takes a6. Trade of queen occurs. Rook takes, and now we finally activates his bishop. Bishop a3. Rook d5. Okay. We're gonna go speed up a little bit more because we're almost out of time. So rook d5, and so what do you guys think is a good move here for white?
I like f5, setting up the mate.
F5. No, I think now that allows this,
No,
and now these pawns are very, very dangerous.
No,
Oh, actually, oh, right.
down
Oh, right. The
d8.
mate. Sorry. You're right. All right. So all right. So let's look at F5. F5. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess he would just what could he do? He can just escape this way if he really wanted to. Yeah. I think F5 though it gives too much mobility to these pawns. So yes. So he didn't want to do that. So he played knight F5 here. Activating his knight, threatening a nice little fork here. At the same time as threatening to win this d5 pawn after the after the exchange on e5, right? So that's pretty nice dual purpose move. King f7. So Karpov knows that this pawn will be lost. So he's like, okay, I might as well get some king activity. F takes e5. Rook takes e5. And now the best move here, it was determined that the best move here is knight takes d4. He should just take it off now before it becomes a problem. But I think Korchnoi had a lot of time trouble at this point. And so he played rook b5, trying to trade down, thinking that things would be easier. But Karpov made a really nice move, knight c4, opening up this rook, attack on the pawn at the same time as protecting his own rook. So very nice move. And again, Korchnoi is in real time trouble. He throws in a check here. Rook b7 check, king e6. Now he removes the pawn with check, king d5. So look how active this king is, right? Compared to the white king, right? You know, once you're in the end game, the king becomes a very powerful piece. So knight takes d4, king d5, knight f3. Okay, and so now the problem is that Korchnoi's his knight and his bishop are both under attack, right? So that's the problem. So he's got to figure out, how do I deal with that, right? So his choice is either trade a rook for both minor pieces or try to protect. But here it doesn't. It leads into some interesting other variation. So here, taking on a3 would be a mistake. Anybody see why?
Rook b5 and then rook d1.
No, rook b5 and then you lose your rook. So why is knight takes a3 a mistake?
Oh, there's a fork there on b4.
Yeah, knight b4 fork. Very nice rook and king fork. Okay, so always got to look out for those forks, especially with the king around. So yeah, for that reason, so he decided to go for two minor pieces for the rook. So knight f3, knight takes a3, knight takes e5, king takes. So now we're nearing the end. So now this, black has these two pawns over here, which it seems like they can be easily taken off. But nevertheless, with such an active king, your goal should always be to push away your opponent's king as far away from the position as possible, right? So here, Korchnoi, he played a pretty good move, rook e7 check, driving the king away. King d4, very nice. And now, but the problem is he decided to take the pawn too soon, right? So best move here is continuing to push the king back, right? Continue to push the king back. Once he's all the way over here, for example, now you take the pawn, right? And now look how far away the king is from your side. And once you get this other pawn, now the goal is just to simply push your pawns and hopefully you can remove these knights, win these knights, or trade them for the pawns, and yeah, something like that. So yeah, that was his one mistake, is that he allowed the king to become too active, and he didn't push it to the side. So he prematurely took the pawn on g7, and now black pretty much knows that this pawn is going to be gone. So his goal now is to create like a little fortress with the knights, and hopefully he can perhaps make a draw out of this. So knight c4. Okay. Rook f4 check. Okay. So again, here the best move they say in the analysis was rook to e7. Again, attempting to drive the king back away from your king, right, away from the white king. But he did not do that. So he went rook f4 check, and Karpov did a nice move. Now he's activating his knight, so he completely abandons the h pawn. And he says, I'm going to lose that anyway, so I might as well get my king as active as possible and establish some kind of fortress, right? So rook d7. He's trying really hard to push the king back, but the king is becoming now. The king is is safely tucked behind his knights, and he's pretty comfortable. So what do you think? Good move here for white.
Rook F3 check.
Yeah, rook f3 check is what he played. Now king e2. look how menacing this king is as compared to the white king. It's pretty amazing. So finally, Korchnoi said, "Okay, let me remove this last pawn." And with knight cd2, beautiful. Look at the coordination between these two knights and the king. Very powerful. Very powerful.
There was a fork there with the two rooks, wasn't there?
Well, it doesn't really work because you always have this a check you can do. Yeah, so it doesn't really work. So knight cd2. Another possible variation is rook takes a4, rook f1, knight e3. Beautiful knights. Look at this. Rook b1, knight d2, rook c1. And now here, black has at least a draw, right? Because the white rook cannot leave the first rank because it will be checkmate on the back rank, right? So he has a draw at least here, draw by perpetual. So that's so he's secured a draw. So but actually Karpov says no, I'm going to try to win this. So let's see what happens. Knight cd2. And now, Korchnoi's rook and pawn are under attack. So he does the sensible thing most people would do, which is save both. Rook a3. And now rook c6 he goes. And not realizing the threats or not responding to them sufficiently or adequately, Korchnoi plays the losing move, rook a1. So what is the best move here for black?
Knight f3 check, and then rook g6.
Yep, and then king h1, and then what?
And then knight f2 mate.
Yeah. Have you seen this puzzle before?
No.
It's a pretty I've seen this position as a puzzle like on I don't remember if it's on chess.com or Elite Chess, but I've seen it around. It's a pretty famous position as a puzzle. So yeah, beautiful combination with the active king and the two knights, right? So knight to f3, brilliant move, double exclamation mark. Of course, if the king goes to h1, we have mate on f2, beautiful mate with the two knights. And if the knight is taken, we push the king back with the rook g6, king h1, and mating with his two last pieces, and with the help of the beautifully active king. So yeah, so that's Korchnoi versus Karpov, game 17, FIDE World Championship, 1978. And actually, this was a 32-game match, and Korchnoi lost. He lost 6-5 after a grueling 32 games. Oh, by the way, at that time and in that era, Karpov and Korchnoi were considered to be the strongest active chess players of that time. So this was a pretty significant duel. And Korchnoi, by the way, was a Soviet Union defector. He played in the Soviet Union championships, but then he defected to the West, settled in Switzerland, and Karpov was considered to be the poster child of the Soviet Union and represented everything the Soviet Union stands for, basically. So, all right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So that's the game. Hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas or holidays or whatever you guys celebrate.
Thanks, Dan. You too.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Happy New Year to you guys as well. Is anybody gonna join the winter classes? Just curious.
Don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
I was
Okay.
thinking I might. Has there been an email sent out about that yet?
Yeah,
must
I
have been,
think
right?
he did. Yeah. I mean, I can email you a link in the when I email you guys the video of this class. I can send you the link of that. So you can check it out.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I'll you know, if enough students join, I'll most likely teach again. So yeah.
How long these classes normally go? An hour?
Yeah. I went over a couple minutes, but yeah, normally they go an hour. 8:15 to 9:15. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So good seeing you guys, and hope you enjoyed it. So enjoy the holidays with your families.
Thanks, you too.
All
Thanks,
right.
Danilo. Happy
Happy
holidays.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.